to the Honorable Court. The Kenya Prison Service.
Yes.
The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. And the Kenya Government Ministry of Health. For ensuring that his health was given first priority, and he received top-notch treatment for the problem that he had affecting his left side hip. Which problem, though not totally cured,
you said his left
side hip joint, though not totally or fully cured, but the above mentioned government bodies ensure that he received medical attention, and today he's able to walk, albeit with the use of a crutch. He is indeed very grateful for that. Your Honor, in our mitigation, we will talk on 3 key semantic areas. And I will start by giving his personal circumstances by stating that the first accused person is indeed highly remorseful and truly contrite. As he stands before this court today, Your Honor, the accused person, Mr. Okwudili, regrets his actions and he promises that he will never ever engage himself in this kind of a transaction, for he has learned his lessons the hard way. Your Honor, Mr. Okwudili is now 49 years old. The 3 years he has been in remand custody has given him enough time to reflect on his future, guided by his past. And today, Your Honor, he confesses that he was a lost person in the past. But he equally prays that his past should not define his future. He has indeed reformed, and he wants to spend the rest of his life earning an honest living and being a law-abiding citizen.
You can repeat your last sentence.
And that he confesses and states that his past should not define his future. He wants to live the rest of his remaining life as a law-abiding person, and be a true testament that, as the Swahili people say, mui huwa mwema. That just like the Catholic father once said, for every saint that we see today, he has a past. And for every sinner that we see today, they have a future. He's praying that his Damascus moment has arrived, and that this court tempers justice with mercy.
For every sinner there is?
For every sinner there is a future.
Yes.
And that today he prays that this court grants him his Damascus moment, for him to become Paul, as he abandons his past life of drugs. Your Honor, Mr. Okwudili has got 4 children back in Nigeria, whom he informs me that he has received credible information that they have now dropped out of school for lack of fees following his incarceration. Your Honor, I wouldn't say that crime pays, and therefore that he was using crime to pay his school fees. But for every child growing, Your Honor, where possible, it is good to have their parents around, especially a father, who guides them in life. He prays that he be given that opportunity to reunite with his family and be able to offer fatherly guidance, especially now that he has seen the other side of life. He is on his knees and he prays for mercy. Your Honor, allow me to go to the second limb of my mitigation on behalf of the accused person, which is guided by the Sentencing Guidelines and Policy 2023, And Your Honor, I will start with paragraph 2.3.13 of the Sentencing Guidelines 2023, which
Paragraph
2.3.13.
2.3.1.
2.3.13. Your Honor, it talks on custodial versus non-custodial sentences. Your Honor, as much as the option of a fine or a non-custodial sentence is pegged on the seriousness of the offense, it is our humble submission that listening to the facts being read today in this court, and from the accused person's own submission to me, Your Honor, there are no aggravating factors that may persuade this court to shy away from meting out a non-custodial sentence. Your Honor, it is evident that the accused person was not the owner of the house, even though he was the husband of the second accused person. And he informs me that he was actually transiting out of Kenya with the said luggage. And that he has never, ever supplied drugs here locally. And that is why even there was no weighing machine or a notebook indicating supplies, as it is normally the case with the drug traffickers who deal with the drugs locally. And I know officers from ANU can attest to that, that when you conduct a search,
You said we have no weighing?
there was no weighing machine, neither a notebook giving details of supplies and amounts involved, which, Your Honor, is a common feature for any person who deals with the drugs locally. When their houses are conducted, officers can confirm that those two things will never miss: a weighing machine and a notebook. Your Honor, the fact that his travel documents were in order also proves that he was indeed about to travel out of the country. Unlike those who deal with the drugs locally, in many instances you find that they don't have valid documents to stay in Kenya. Your Honor, we pray that the court considers our mitigation and the fact that he is a first offender. We pray that the court be guided by paragraph 2.3.15 and consider giving the accused person a non-custodial sentence, since he has clearly demonstrated remorsefulness. He is clearly receptive to rehabilitative measures, and that is why, Your Honor, he even approached the prosecution with a request to plea again. That is a person who is remorseful, a person who is ready to take a bullet and face the consequences of his actions. And that's why he was ready to plead with the prosecution and ask for a sentence that will allow him to rehabilitate. Now that did not happen, Your Honor, we pray that this court be guided to exercise its discretion as guided under the said sentencing guidelines 2023, paragraph 4.3. regarding offenders who plead guilty. Your Honor, there are benefits that we pray and humbly ask this court to accrue to the accused person for having chosen the plea of guilt. For a plea of guilt, Your Honor, Mr. Okwudili has served this court the limited resource of time, and therefore he has saved the court's judicial time to allow the court concentrate on other matters He has also saved the witnesses time for them to have to come and testify in this court, carrying this luggage every now and then as they appear before this court, wearing masks to avoid the odor that comes from the said substances, and by extension he has saved their health in terms of having to come all the time and reopen the exhibits as witnesses testify. Your Honor, a plea of guilt, we pray and humbly submit that should be treated as a public interest benefit, because he has saved the public time and money, taxpayers' money. And we humbly pray that, Your Honor, may you not be swayed by the mythical belief that a plea of guilt is a reward for an offender when you consider the same in sentence. But instead, Your Honor, I pray that this is an opportunity that the court can afford the accused person, Mr. Okwudili, to reintegrate back to society and demonstrate that indeed he has reformed, that the 3 years he has been in custody has taught him the hard lessons, and that the same be considered as punishment enough. Your Honor, allow me to end by speaking briefly on my third leg of my mitigation, which, Your Honor, is a prayer for non-custodial sentence. Your Honor, drugs trafficking is an international crime that, even though we have pleaded before this court that he's not a local drug dealer, and therefore the harm to our society is diminished, but we are alive to the fact that wherever he was going, humanity was going to suffer. And I know it is upon us, the court, and society as a whole, to try as much as possible to keep our Mother Earth safe for us and our future generations. Your Honor, I pray that you consider that Mr. Okwudili here is now a disabled man with a crutch. The government has spent considerable resources treating him. Your Honor, it will be unfair to the Kenyan taxpayers to continue keeping this man in custody so that the taxpayers' money can continue being used on him to treat him in hospitals, to feed him in prison, and to clothe him in prison, when there is nothing he can do. He cannot go to the sham in his current condition. He cannot work in the prison industries because he cannot stand for long, and therefore there is no single day he's going to make a beautiful chair for our parliament. But we can, as a court, be guided by Article 54 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 on treating people with disability with dignity, and also Article 29, Clause F, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 on freedom from cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment. Is also enshrined in Article 14 of the UN Convention on the rights of persons with disability to accommodate them reasonable treatment while sentencing. We pray that this court may be persuaded by previous decisions of both the High Court, but in particular, which is not an authority on, and that's why I'm not sharing a copy. I want to pray the court that it be persuaded by a decision of your sister sitting at JKI Court, Honorable Jerry Thuku. while sentencing in criminal number E077 of 2024,
No.
number E077 of 2024,
Yes.
where she considered meeting a fine to the accused persons as a way
Yes.
of ensuring that accused persons face the law and they pay for their mistakes. I pray that this court considers giving Mr. Okwudili a good fine as provided for under the Narcotics Act proposed in the amendment of 2022, so that he can pay and leave our country, and maybe we make a benefit out of the fine that will be paid to the government. Your Honor, I'll be relying on various medical documents that are in the court file regarding the health of the accused person, and that I pray this court considers his medical condition, considers that he's a first offender, and that he is highly remorseful, and accord him a lenient sentence. We pray for mercy. Your Honor, we are before you, and we pray that you temper justice with mercy. Thank you, Your Honor, and once again, may I reiterate our commitment to ensuring that our society is safe, and also that we live and uphold the tenets of restorative justice and give accused persons an opportunity to rehabilitate and also get back to society and be of benefit to the society. That will be all, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
You know, those were very serious sentencing submissions by counsel. And I'll just say, a few things in rejoinder to the said submissions. We agree with the defense that Okwudili is considered as a first offender. We equally agree that he has been unwell. And we agree that he has pleaded guilty and maybe saved this court 1 year. And we also agree that in the year 2022, there were amendments introduced to the Section 4A of the Narcotic Drug and Psychotropic Substances Control Act number 4 of 1994. But the point of departure, Yona, begins when he said that
So it was amended to provide for
Yona, it was amended to make the sentences even more punitive. Yona, after the said amendment, just to go back there because the court is asking, Section 4A2, and you see the charges in respect to which he has pleaded guilty are all on all four.
Yes.
The charges that he has pleaded guilty to are all in respect to 4A2 of the said act that was amended, and it provides as follows. Where a person is in possession of more than 100 grams, to be fined, to a fine, this is not the fine, of not less than 50 million shillings, or 3 times the market value of the narcotic psychotropic substances, whichever is greater, or to imprisonment for 50 years, or both such fine and imprisonment. You know, we agree that if this court were to give both fine and imprisonment, it would be very punitive considering that he has just pleaded guilty. But the mandatory nature of that sentence, Your Honor, requires that this court, despite the mitigation.
3 times?
Your Honor, the sentence is to a fine of not less than 50 million, or 3 times the market value of the narcotic drug, whichever is greater, or imprisonment for a term of 50 years, or both such fine and imprisonment. You know, this is a case of what is called above more than 100 grams. In fact, in respect to this case, the drug amounts to 4,376.09. 4,376.09 grams. And were we to consider count 2 as not applicable, Your Honor, the pending issue, then minus N1, which was 5.42 grams, that would make it 4,371. 4,000 comparing to 100 grams. The law tells you to be merciful, but consider the seriousness.
4,000 what?
4,371 grams of the drug. With the value, Your Honor, total value before the minus of N1 was 17,504 shillings, 504,360 shillings. That is 17,504,360 shillings. That amount, Your Honor, minus 21,000 for N1, 21,680, you will find the value of the drug that he was in possession of. The law is telling you that if you sentence to 50 million or 3 value of this 17 million, whichever is greater, in the alternative 50 years. And the act under that section, Your Honor, is still mandatory, and it uses the word shall. And the Moroateto case is inapplicable to this act, Your Honor, and the same has not been challenged. You know, these are separate counts, and that tells you that the sentence is 50 years times 3. Every count. We therefore request Your Honor, if this court was to be lenient, then at least we should get one full sentence in one of the counts, then leniency to apply in the remaining counts. We so submit, Your Honor, and we request, Your Honor, since what drugs do to the children, whether abroad, as you've heard, Your Honor, that he was traveling, and you can see the kind of concealment through the airport, to take drugs which are not food to another country, that is not a mitigating factor, but an aggravating factor. As you've been told, Your Honor, we've been very candid with them, and he's thanking the state. We had summoned the Commissioner General of Prison to this court when this matter failed to proceed for so many years on the account of the accused person. But he was treated through the kitty of the Commissioner General of Prisons. Your Honor, we therefore request that you consider the time served as a minus to the maximum penalty as provided for by the law.